At last, a topic close to my own heart, pubs and drinking. In today's video, we're going to look at the sad decline in the number of British pubs over the last quarter of a century. Your local pub has long played an important part in British life. They provide jobs, a place for people to unwind after a hard week's work, and a focal point for the community. You had your cosy village pubs with a roaring fire and regular quiz night. Then you had your South London drinking dens where villains would plan their next bank job. And every other type of pub in between. But they're disappearing and closing down at an alarming rate. In 1870, there were 115,000 pubs and beer houses in this country, but almost 100 years later, that number has fallen to 75,000. Between 1990 and the year 2000, numbers held fairly steady at around 61,000, but then it started going downhill. Between 2000 and 2024, the UK lost nearly 16,000 pubs. That was just over 1/3 of the country's watering holes, gone in 25 years. Now, in 2025, approximately one a day are closing. What is the pub sector worth, you may ask? £34 billion and supports 1 million jobs. That's made up of 500,000 directly employed in pubs and bars, but around 1 million overall when you take into account breweries, supply chain, etc. The average pub employs around a dozen people. The wider hospitality sector accounts for around 7% of all UK jobs, which is estimated to be 2.7 million people in bars, restaurants, hotels, etc. That's enough to fill Wembley Stadium 30 times over. Some old former pubs remain boarded up for years, while some are being converted to homes, offices, even kids' nurseries. Let's have a look at the main reasons for this sad decline. Number 1. Costs. The cost of running a pub has gone up massively in the past 2 decades, particularly energy prices, i.e. gas and electricity. Here's a staggering fact. Unit prices for gas and lecky have more than doubled for businesses since 2021. Business rates have gone up like everything else, while business rates relief under the Retail, Hospitality and Leisure Scheme has dropped from 75% in 2024-25 to 40% relief in the current financial year. Business rates for pubs tend to be disproportionately high because pubs are rated on their trading potential, not just size, which can leave them with hefty bills despite tight margins. Staff costs. The adult minimum wage was £4.50 in 2003. The national living wage is now £12.21, an increase of roughly 170% over 2 decades. Employers must now also contribute at least 3% of qualifying earnings towards employee pensions. Employees are also now paying higher national insurance contributions as from 2025 and paying it from a lower threshold too. And another fact, 25% of the money spent on beer in our pubs goes to the Treasury. And while we're on the subject of costs, you might have heard many people complain that pub prices are just too expensive nowadays. Is that actually true when we delve into the data from the Office of National Statistics? Well, yes it is. In the year 2000, the average price of a pint of lager was £2, a nice handy round number. In January of 2025, the latest data available, the average price was £4.83. And here's the rub. £2 adjusted for inflation from the year 2000 would only be £3.68. So it's clear that your pint is costing you more than £1 extra over the inflation adjusted price. Yes, I know there's big regional variations, but these are average prices from the ONS figures. Number 2, demand. People are drinking less and they're also drinking less frequently, especially those from Generation Z who are old enough to drink legally. There has been a bit of a cultural shift among younger people away from going to the pub on a regular basis. Number 3. The smoking ban. Scotland brought it in first in 2006, and by July the following year it was UK-wide. Overnight, smoking indoors at the local went from normal to no can do to protect staff and customers from second-hand smoke. Public support was strong by then. Short term, pubs took a hit. In Scotland, you see drops of around 10% in sales and 14% in customers right after the change. Across the UK, spending data show the ban reduced on-trade alcohol spend, particularly among smokers, and that lost pint money didn't magically reappear from non-smokers. Pubs adapted. More outdoor space, more food and coffee, more family-friendly nights. You even see soft drink sales rising as places pivoted to meals. The big picture: health improved, less second-hand smoke, smoking rates kept falling, and most people didn't want to turn the clock back. But for boozers on thin margins, it was another tough turn in a decade full of them. Number 4. Home drinking and cheap booze from supermarkets. Pubs argue that they have an unlevel playing field as food and drink in pubs is subject to the usual 20% VAT, whereas food in supermarkets is zero rated. 79% of the public favour reducing VAT for the hospitality sector. As I mentioned earlier, pub prices have outstripped inflation over the years, but for supermarket booze the opposite is true. Buy your ale in the big supermarkets and you'll enjoy the fact that it's actually risen in price considerably less than inflation over the same 25-year period. The big-name supermarkets especially can afford to discount their drink prices as a loss leader. Number 5. Demographics. The UK population has increased nearly 18% since the year 2000. That's an extra 10 million people. So that's great. A sizable increase in potential customers? Well, not really. A lot of that growth is in communities where not drinking alcohol is the norm. About a third of that population growth came from people identifying as Muslim. Broaden that to Hindu and Sikh communities and it's roughly 2/5 or 40%. So a bigger UK hasn't automatically meant more punters at the bar. So what's being done? We'll look at some measures, no pun intended, at what the government and the pub owners themselves are doing to try and stay afloat. Number 1. Duty relief on draft beer. This provided a reduced rate of duty for pub owners on draft beers, lagers, etc. below 8.5% alcohol by volume. This amounted to only a few pence less duty per pint for the pubs, but they sell a lot of pints. Did they pass the saving on to the consumer though? Not easy to tell, is it? Number 2. Rates reform. Reduction in business rates relief. The Treasury has confirmed plans to introduce permanently lower business rates for pubs and other hospitality venues. In November 2025, the Lib Dems called for a reduction in VAT for the hospitality sector from 20% to 15%. They propose funding this through a new windfall tax on the banking sector. The Lib Dems are not in government and are unlikely to be anytime soon, but hey, there's no harm in them asking. A survey in late 2025 suggested more than half of people think going out to a pub or restaurant was now unaffordable. Number 3. Diversification. One of the biggest changes to pubs in recent years has been a big shift to focus on food. Gone are the days of the choice being limited to a packet of peanuts, scampi fries or a cheese toastie. The smarter pubs now offer a full menu of often restaurant quality food and a range of coffee and snacks to compete with the growing cafe culture, with many pubs now having outside tables for patrons to enjoy the great British weather. The ever-popular quiz nights put bums on seats for traditionally quieter midweek evenings, and special promotions like Wetherspoon's Thursday Curry Club have proved a big hit with punters. Alcohol sales are falling, whereas bar food sales are rising. Food service staff in pubs now outnumber bar staff, although in smaller pubs there's bound to be some crossover. Pubs are fighting back with food, events and community focus, but government policy help on rates, VAT and energy bills would give them a proper chance. Pubs are under pressure, but last orders isn't final orders. Support your local if you've still got one, and if it's gone, tell me what replaced it. Share your pub stories below, like and subscribe, and most importantly, cheers to the boozers still standing.